Hi, everybody. This is Mrs. McManus, and this is a quick overview of our AP European History course. And I just wanted to say that first, I'm very excited for this school year. This happens to be probably my favorite course to teach. And so you will probably see that come out during class many times. So I want to welcome you and say first that my goal as an AP teacher is not, of course, only to teach you the content of the course, but also to teach you how to think like a historian at the college level. Now, I promise that when you walk into that course in May, you will feel very prepared for this exam. And what I mean by that is you will have experience with all the different kinds of questions they will ask. You will have seen many practice questions as well. And in fact, many of students that I've had in previous years come back to me and tell me that out of all their AP classes, they kind of feel more prepared for this one than any others when they walk into the exams in May because we've done so much practice and preparation ahead of time. So, really quick, I want to go over just sort of what the course is about and how the exam is run as well, so that you can kind of get a quick overview and you can kind of know what you're getting into. Now, of course, all this information is also on the College Board website if you were to go and look for it, if you were to look for AP Euro. So, to begin with, the AP historical thinking skills are an incredibly important part of this course, and we will talk a lot about them. So, there are 6 in total. The first one is developments and processes, the second is sourcing and citation, the third is claims and evidence in sources, the fourth is contextualization, fifth is making connections, and the sixth is argumentation. Now, the nice part about these historical thinking skills is that you've been doing these for some time. You have been making connections, for example, between perhaps what's going on in the news right now with historical things that happened 50 years ago. You have been arguing, maybe with your parents, maybe in a paper that you write for your teachers, but you've been actually embarking on these skills all along. Now, reasoning processes are a little bit different, and these will be assessed on the exam just as the historical thinking skills, but you'll see that they're kind of intertwined a little bit more. So let me just really quick. Reasoning process number 1 is comparison, reason 2 is causation, and the process number 3 is continuity and change. So with comparison, again, you've been doing this for a long time. If you've done a Venn diagram, then you've done comparison. But where the historical thinking skill might roll into this comparison is, for example, if you were to compare World War I and World War II, that in fact, you might have to give a little bit of contextualization first to say, well, here's how we got to World War I, or here's what was going on before World War II, to sort of let the readers know the historical period in which it was taking place and why that was important. Causation, of course, can have many different sort of lenses to look through. Sometimes an event or a process can have more than one cause or more than one effect. Sometimes a cause will affect only one thing, right? I mean, there's lots of different ways that we can look at it, but causation is a really important process as well. And then continuity and change. If you've ever heard the term, the more things change, the more that they stay the same, well, that's kind of referencing this, in fact, that all through history, there have been things that have changed, and we can say that without a doubt. But in a sense, there have been things that have continued on, even though there have been such great changes throughout the world. Now, this course is split into 4 different periods. Period 1 is from 1450 to 1648. Period 2 is from 1648 to 1815. Period 3 from 1815 to 1914, and period 4 from 1914 to present. Each of those years, 1450, 1648, 1815, 1914, and of course the present, are pivotal. They're turning points in history, which is why the College Board and all the people who developed this course made sure to pick those years as they go from period to period. Now, I am not a teacher to surprise you. I am not a gotcha teacher. I want you to learn and learn well. So, what you're going to see is that I actually do not do a final exam or a midterm exam. Instead, at the end of each period, I will actually do a period exam. So, that's going to test you on a much smaller bit of history, right? 200 years is much smaller than, say, 600 years, right? So, that's why I do it, is so that you can still practice the skills that we've been working on. You can see what an SAQ looks like and a DBQ and so on and so forth, but it will still help you feel prepared. Now, one last thing before we get to sort of the format of the exam are the themes. Throughout the course, there are 7 different themes. First is interaction of Europe and the world. Second is economic and commercial developments. Third is cultural and intellectual developments. Fourth are states and other institutions of power. Fifth, social organization and development. Sixth, national and European identity. And seventh, technological and scientific innovation. So as you can see from this chart here, which I apologize that it's a bit cut off by my head in the corner, but not all of these themes will be in every single unit. For example, you might actually see that national and European identity really isn't going to occur in the first 3 units of study in the beginning of the school year, but it is really going to come into play more in the latter half. Then you're going to see that there are some themes that are in every single unit no matter what. For example, states and other institutions of power. And so I would take a moment. In fact, I would do this and perhaps go back to the earlier slides since I kind of am talking a little bit on the fast side and sort of take a peek at what each one of these themes means. Look at the description under each one of them so that you kind of understand them for going forward. Now, on to the exam overview. So the exam will, of course, be in May, and it's 3 hours and 15 minutes. And it consists of 55 multiple choice questions, 3 short answer questions, and 2 free response questions. The multiple choice are definitely a lot different than multiple choice questions you have seen in the past. They're what they're called stimulus-based questions. And so they're going to assess contextualization, evidence, and sourcing, and all those other historical thinking skills that I talked about before. Now, that is going to weigh for approximately 40% of the exam. Then you'll see short answer questions. Short answer questions are just that. You will answer, and you could actually answer successfully a short answer question in 5 or 6 sentences, maybe even less if you're really good. And so this isn't meant to be a super long writing assignment. It's meant to be concise and to the point. And then you'll have 2 free response questions, a document-based question, or what we call DBQ, and a long essay question, or what we call LEQ. And you'll have to do 1 LEQ essay. So in any of the open response questions, you're going to see these terms here that are in the blue box: compare, describe, evaluate, explain, identify, support, and argument. Again, you've been seeing these forever, but they're just going to be asked to do it in a more mature and sophisticated way that's expected out of a college student. And so again, we'll work on that this year. I'm not going to go over this too much in detail, but this does show that your stimulus-based multiple choice questions, for example, might be an excerpt from, a primary source, and then you're going to have to answer 3 multiple choice questions based on that primary source. Perhaps it could be a piece of artwork or a map, or it could be a table with some data, and then you'll have a set of multiple choice questions that will go with that as well. The short answer questions are actually a little bit different. They're actually limited in years in what they're going to ask. And then they also sometimes will include a primary source stimulus or other things like that as well. So again, I would take the time to pause this and to read over that more in depth. Then the second part of the exam is the DBQ, or the document-based question. Funnily enough, this is my favorite part of the exam, and I'll tell you why. You are going to get 7 documents, right? And they're going to tell you to do something with those documents, like evaluate the causes of World War II. And then the 7 documents that you have are going to relate to the causes of World War II. So the nice part is, maybe you were out that week, maybe you blanked on the causes of World War II and you're like, gosh, I don't even remember it all. You have those 7 documents to help guide you. And so even if you don't know a ton about it, you could actually still write a fairly good and argumentative essay with just those 7 documents. So I find that that's sort of comforting in a way, knowing that, gosh, even if I totally forgot what that topic was about, at least I still sort of have a little bit of help. So DBQ, we will practice that a lot. Don't worry. LEQ, the long essay question. That's sort of your generic, 3 to 5 paragraph essay, which you guys have been banging out for much of your high school career. And so, of course, it will ask you to make an argument. You won't have documents, but the nice part is that they typically give you a few choices, right? So you have 3 long essay questions and you have to choose one of them. So if you can't remember or you just don't feel confident in the other 2, at least you have a choice. Now, before I go on to the next steps, I would suggest that you take the time to look over these slides a little bit more. You could either do that by going back on this video, or I will also post these slides to Google Classroom so that you can see. Now, the next steps that you are going to need to take are to go to myap.collegeboard.org/login, and you're going to log in using the same username and password that you did for any other AP classes that you took, or perhaps the PSATs, SATs. It's all the same login. Now, if you cannot log in for any reason, like you forgot your password, something's up, please do not reset your password. Apparently, according to Mrs. Lamry, that can cause some real big issues, and you might have trouble logging into your other classes or the PSATs and SATs. So instead, please call the 800 number that's listed here on these slides. And only students are allowed to call. I cannot help you reset your password and your username. And so you call them and they'll walk you through it. And just so you know, that's like a devoted username and password line. So theoretically, you shouldn't be waiting on hold for like an hour or anything like that. Now, once you go to My AP College Board, once you have gone and put in your username and password, please go in and put our class code. And you'll see it there at the bottom of the slides, and I'll also post it on Google Classroom. My AP Classroom is going to be a really great tool to use during this course. Not only do they have practice questions, but they also have videos that they're going to release for each of the units as well. I previewed a few of them and they're pretty good so far. All right, guys, so that is a quick summary and overview of AP Euro. I look forward to seeing you in class, and that's it for today. Thanks.